Hey, welcome everybody to What's It Like? I'm Jay Liebenguth, your host, and thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you stopping by, and more than that, I appreciate Bob Donlan stopping by. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate being here.
Bob is an artist. Bob is a man about town. Bob's a communicator, playwright.
I have been around town.
Published author.
West, south, north.
Yeah. Been to Bellevue ever?
Papillion even?
Sure. There you go. So how do you describe yourself when somebody says, "Who's Bob Donlan?"
Who's Bob Donlan? A hobo most of the time.
Yeah.
Because although I did clean up for you today by
Appreciate it. Notice you had a haircut.
getting all spiffy. No, I'm an artist by trade or by the way I was born, I suppose.
And by lifestyle.
By lifestyle too, yeah, and it's how I make my living. And art, I don't pigeonhole it into any one specific thing. I write poetry, I write plays. I do a little sculpture, not much, but I've written some songs, some lyrics. I don't play an instrument. Play a little radio now and then, so I'm familiar with.
Yeah, you've seen a
some of the
microphone
mics and stuff before.
But what is it about? At what point in your life did you decide that you were an artist?
That's
Did anybody tell you that, or was that something you told yourself?
I was encouraged from just very, very early age to stick with the drawing. I think I did so badly in a lot of my other subjects that
They were hoping
at least there was something that would pull me through in life.
Yeah.
And maybe a cartoon or something might sell someday. So no, my family was very encouraging of art, and I always did it. I just always did it. We sometimes plop young people down at the TV to get them out of our hair for a while when we're raising kids. My mom would put me in front of the cartoons, and instead of just watching them, I'd draw them. I'd draw Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd the way I saw them, and I'd put myself in there, and I'd draw my own cartoons on paper. And so from very early age, just the delight of capturing what was around me was there.
Did you share that with other people then? Did you hold that up and go, "Hey, look, I did this"?
No.
What do you think?
No, I didn't care about. My mom would get excited, and
Yeah.
like most moms, I think I made the gallery refrigerator magnets, like every kid. But
Everybody gets that.
everybody gets that. But
Yeah.
no, it was just something I did.
So sharing that was in no way relationship for you to get approval or acceptance or
No, but my father had wanted to be an artist probably his whole life, and he actually went to a semester at Omaha University, it was called at the time, and he studied art for a semester, and then the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and he wanted to get married to my mom, and things kind of got in the way of going to college at UNO studying art. And a big family, 9 kids, so the artist lifestyle, starving artist lifestyle, as they say. It's tough when you're raising that many kids. So, but he loved art. He was privately an artist, and he would sketch sometimes on napkins or on pieces of paper. And it was just delightful to watch him draw, and he loved to watch me draw, and so there was a bond, and an approval that I got from my dad from drawing. So, what was the original question?
I think that was it. I think it was around approval. I
got approval.
The idea is, did you do that and then receive love? To receive
Oh yeah,
any kind
very encouraged by both my mom and dad, and I had a few siblings that maybe got irritated that maybe I got a little more attention because I drew. I know some of the teachers in my elementary school were always pulling me out of class to draw decorations for their homerooms and for their classrooms.
Right?
So some of my education suffered a little bit. In all seriousness, it did suffer a little bit because I got pulled out of some basic.
But you also saw a connection there between I can do something that people value.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
therefore
and
I
can
get
help
special
people
treatment
with it.
or help
Right,
people.
yeah.
Right.
And honest, who wants to sit through math class when you're 9? You want to get out of certain things, or you think you do.
Yeah.
But that's a bad message for young people in the world. But
Yeah, they should ignore that part.
they should. We cut that out.
Don't be an artist because
No.
interrupt
But
your-
certain things I struggled with, and so I didn't. Well, my stepsons are brilliant in mathematics. They love mathematics. But I struggled with it. I had a little dyslexia as a child, and I always had trouble with numbers and letters and things. So some classes I kind of liked being shoved out the door to help Mrs. Johnson down the hall, draw pumpkins for the Halloween bulletin board. But no, go math.
Yeah.
Go history. Go all
Did you
that
go to
stuff.
school for art? Did you study art?
I studied theater design.
Okay.
I did try a semester in traditional art at UNO, and ended up helping in the theater department do some set work, paint some scenery, and the art department. I think art in general is an isolated environment. You work alone. You work independently.
Mm-hmm. There's no group art
There's
projects
no group.
typically.
There's no group things, and. Boy, in the theater department, there was all this fellowship and camaraderie, and cute actresses, and it was a lot of fun. And I needed sociability. I was shy, and it just was so much fun. So I kind of changed majors more for and also in the theater department, I was the big man because I could paint and I could do the scenery. Mm-hmm. And in the art department, everybody had a brush. Everybody was talented. I was the, big fish in the small pond over here. Mm-hmm. Not so much in the other department. So maybe it was ego too at the time. Young man's ego, I don't know.
Bob, one of the things you did is you wrote a book.
Yes, I did.
And you detailed your experiences with mental health. I wonder if you can talk to us a little bit about that. And we'll talk a little bit about how it relates to your art.
I had a break, a first break just after I finished all my education. I went to the University of Kansas and got an MFA in theater design, and I had set out to kind of conquer the world. Went to Chicago to do theater design work, be a set designer, a light designer, costume designer.
Launch your career.
Launch my career. And I was in a foreign city. I had no family support system or friends support systems, limited money resources, and the stress will bring on breaks. It's my understanding everybody, or darn near everybody, has a bipolar gene in them.
Is that right?
But it never gets activated. For most people, a small percentage it gets activated. But mine did, and usually severe stress will activate the gene. And it happened for me later than it does most people. Most people, it happens when they're about 19.
So you never had any other experience or any other diagnosis around that?
No, I had a lot of depression when I was younger.
Sure.
And anxiety and stuff.
It's called being a teenager.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Did have some, what I used to call artistic fervors, where I'd have a lot of energy and draw and kind of stay up all night and do art. Mm-hmm. But, you kind of chalk that up to being an artist or being creative. But the break was much different when you actually have a psychotic break and you have a break from reality, or reality changes for you. That's a whole different game,
So what was that like? What was the experience like?
I wrote a play originally. It started off as a graphic novel, as a book, like you said, but not a text-driven book, more of a visual-driven book. And it tried to describe it, and then I ended up having to write a play to try and describe it.
Either one of those get close to what it was like?
No, I found it was really uncomfortable for people to really have to sit and watch you try to pretend like you're psychotic. It's kind of uncomfortable. We know it's pretend because it's theater.
Right.
And until you live it, you don't really know what it's like. But there are a few things like Everybody gets the great idea when they're in the shower, or they're doing dishes, or they're driving home, and they're in robotic mode, and they
Walking,
get
yeah.
in the problem at work, or the thing they were trying to solve, the aha. When you're manic and you're building up to a break, those ahas come every 2 or 3 minutes. You go, wow, I know how to write poetry now. Ooh, wow, I understand music. That art movement makes sense now. I can decode bus stop signs for the CIA just like that.
For what they're really saying.
What they're really meaning underneath the symbols. And suddenly you just become really, really smart and just really it's an intoxicating, powerful experience. Yeah, you just get filled with a lot of energy, euphoria. Some people have problems with treatment for mental health because there is an aspect of mania that is fun.
Sure.
And that is exciting and intoxicating.
Yeah, I would think.
But it's a snake that bites you, and it bites hard.
Eventually, you have to crash. Eventually,
Eventually,
you have to deal in the real world.
Very bad things happen, or other things happen, consequences.
So what was your experience like then? You were in Chicago, you're away from everybody else, and you experienced this. Did you even have...
Well, I did. I brought a painting that... the first one I brought that I wanted to show you, I'd always had this feeling of... my father died when I was 9, and so I had this feeling of the loss of having a father and in the instructions and for life of how to be a man.
Right.
And so I was always looking for people as father figures. And there was a gentleman in Chicago, an actor named Michael Nash. He passed away about 10 years ago. But I kept kind of projecting this father figure onto him. And he had a long beard, and he had long grayish hair, older man. And it seems like throughout my life, these images, although my father never had a long beard or anything like that, but
it's an archetype.
But it's an archetype, yeah, be it God or be just the wisdom of an old man or who knows. But I did a painting that I wanted to bring a painting to show you that where the beard becomes the roots of birch trees, or birch trees, and then the branches come down below, and it's just the strength of men, the connectedness to life that I felt I was missing. And
when I first saw it, it gave me that sense too. You know,
it's kind of
that's wisdom, that's
yeah.
connectedness. I mean, I'm not a great art critic. I don't believe that people who can't should criticize. But I did believe right away that I saw what you had in mind for that. Maybe not everything, but I saw what you had to share with that. Do you name your paintings, or do they have titles?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think a painting... I used to be really intimidated by poetry because I thought the poet was the only one with the secret answer to what the dang thing meant.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And unless you knew what it meant, you could not appreciate the poem. And I think people enter art sometimes with, oh, there's something secret that the artist was trying to say and do, and I can't see it, so what is it? Tell me. And I think a good poem or a good painting or a good song is a story that everybody has. Anybody can say it.
Right.
Everybody can see what they want to bring to it. So sometimes a title, it gets tricky because I don't want to pigeonhole what I think the painting is about, and I don't want to squash your story. And sometimes
Blue Number One just doesn't seem to.
And sometimes visual art isn't about language.
Right.
You know, it just isn't. It's a painting. It's not a book. It's not a sentence. It's not a word. So, and sometimes it's hard to describe.
Are you offended when other people name your paintings?
The cards get missing sometimes. There's an owner of a gallery, tremendous man, Dean Seidel, has a gallery down in Lincoln, and the Metro Gallery. He's been very kind to me, but sometimes my cards would get missing, and he would just, but it'd be acrylic an acrylic painting, he'd put oil on it because he didn't know. Because, and then he'd put some other name, and I was just like, oh my God, or the cards would get mixed up. And I'd come down to the show, and I'd kind of laugh and maybe, switch them around again real quick. But it happens, but no, titling, sometimes the title is right there.
Like this one,
not
I like
not
to call
before, but
Cube Jesus or Cubist Jesus.
Well, you asked me.
It looks like Jesus, but again,
Right.
I've never seen Jesus in person.
Oh, right here. No, but you asked me what psychosis in Chicago was like.
Yeah.
I had a religious delusion, which is common with schizophrenia or bipolar or something, to have that be the manifestation of the break. And I don't know if I thought I was really Jesus, but I thought I was
Chosen.
Yeah, a healer of great
What's wrong
power.
with that?
Yeah. Well, it can get sticky when you think.
I mean, as long as you're not laying hands on people on the subway, you're probably...
Maybe a coffee shop that might have happened, but could I sprinkle you with
Yes,
my,
let me sprinkle you with my latte.
Yeah, this is the weakest latte in the world. If that's
That's
what it is.
not latte. That's just water.
I changed it to water, so
Yeah,
that's
there
my
you go.
miracle for
I
today.
see. So how did that manifest itself then? If you thought you were chosen, what did that mean to you, or how did you express that? And again, what was your communication with the people back home like? Because they probably were starting to understand that something not quite right.
Oh yeah. Well, the play Open Door that I wrote has for the most part, a humorous look at the experiences. But the actual reality of a break and someone not in reality and kind of out there struggling is painful. It's painful for family. It's painful for the person afterwards. It's very trying, and so I tell a story in the play of being in a poncho and a pair of sandals, and that's it, and delivering bread out of my 1972 Buick LeSabre, throwing it out the window.
Is that true, or is that a metaphor?
Like loaves and fishes. No, it's true. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning in North Omaha, throwing bread out the window. It's a funny story in the play. I'm
sure.
wrapping in aluminum foil, little yeast missiles out the window, very fun. The actual reality is, that road ends, and it ends in embarrassing ways, there's a lot of stigma of shame around mental health.
Yeah.
And it's understandable because behavior gets odd when you're in a break. But it's it was out of my control.
Yeah.
It's not of my doing.
If people throw up,
And
you don't
people-
blame
and-
the person that throws
Yeah,
up. They're
and-
sick. I mean, it's...
And the alcoholic that puts a lampshade on his head or breaks the table at the party
Yeah.
feels bad, but he doesn't feel deep shame for
Right.
years because something happened.
But with mental illness...
But with mental illness, I know people that carry things for decades. Just, oh my gosh, this happened to me. And they have seen my play and they've gone, oh my gosh, or looked at the book and said, wow, that somebody else has had that experience and has recovered and felt better from it. I read a memoir years ago when I was in the first 10 years I was struggling with mental health, and I think it really was a struggle the first 10 years. But the memoir was by K. Redfield Jameson, a doctor. In the book was called An Unquiet Mind, and the great title because it is an unquiet mind. It's full of chatter. It's full of confusion. And I remember reading that book and going, I'm not alone in the world.
Yeah.
And I think we all need that in life. We need to feel like, wow, I fit. I belong to something. I'm not alone. I'm not isolated.
It's one of the themes of our show is there's some of us in all of us.
Right.
We all have experience. We have experiences when you lay in bed at night and your mind won't shut down.
Mm-hmm.
We know what that chatter can be and how hard it is to control. So if that's in your waking state, I can only imagine that that gets to be really problematic in terms of trying to carry on a life. How do you control it now? Or do you attempt to control it? Is it something that feeds your art?
No, I don't think. Excellent question. You're a professional, aren't you?
I have done this once or twice.
I can't deny that in the very early going, I thought medications and treatments that were advised to me and suggested very strongly that I do, I thought they were hampering my art, that they were stifling my creativity, that they were dulling my senses somehow. And it's hard to be compliant with medicine that you're not on board taking, you don't think.
Yeah.
You want to not have the illness to begin with. But I have found out emphatically that messing around with my medicine does not improve my art in any way. And it doesn't stifle my creativity. There's adjustments and there's things to do. But today, no, I have a wonderful psychiatrist. I have a great therapist. And together we work at keeping me in good mental health and balance. And I take medicine every day. I eat the wrong foods. I don't exercise.
You don't have to have a mental illness to necessarily do that. Is the goal of your treatment to do this, or do you still believe? I
don't think the goal of anybody's life should be this.
I don't think so.
And in life normally, typically, just being human is an ebb and flow. It's a hills and valleys,
ups and downs.
What you don't want is being
deep.
buried
Mm-hmm.
underground,
right?
And then all of a sudden shoot to a mountaintop, and then fall in the grave again,
right?
And so, no, my life reasonably calm water, but wow, every once in a while,
sure,
I see a nice fish jump up, or a sunrise or a sunset. There's a lot of beauty and exciting things, and once in a while, you're dog paddling and stuff's tough, but that's life.
That's everybody.
My friend Jim said to me, the rewards of living a good life is a good life.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
And for me, I think a big part of a good life and working at making your life good, and this is hard. I struggle with this as an artist or a creative person because it's a solitary thing. Writing is introspective. Painting is in here. But I got to get out of here and do other things in the world and try and help people and do things if I'm going to be successful as an artist or be successful as a person.
I want to ask about your level of work lately, because you've mentioned that we are friends, and I've noticed your output of work is phenomenal. You're already a really fast artist, but now you are putting out stuff, and you're putting it out at a really high level. What do you attribute that to?
It's interesting. I brought one other painting today that I wanted to show you. That's very evocative of my most recent brushwork, and it has a lot of color. It has a lot of lightness. But underneath all of that, and there's a beauty to it, but underneath all of that, there's some, I don't want to say serious, but very important themes that I've been painting with for 30 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
But now I do it in a way that it doesn't have to be so heavy-handed. It doesn't have to be a sledgehammer on a nail. It can be a nice tack on a wall, it can be a small point. But I'll explain the painting, a couple things about the painting. It shows beauty in two ways: a still life of flowers, natural beauty, or nature's beauty, and the beauty of of a woman abstracted, painted abstractly, but the natural beauty of humanity. But my aunt, I don't talk about this very often, but my aunt got cancer when I was very young. She got breast cancer, and she had to have a mastectomy. I was about 7 or 8 years old at the time, and I didn't know what any of these things meant, except that she was very ill and she was very afraid, and she was very courageous later as I got older and learned about these things. But a lot of times I have been dealing in the abstract female form. If they were nudes, I would put a flower on one breast, or I would make one breast a little different, either a circle or a different range of color. And I think it was kind of a conscious and unconscious thing, always going back to my Aunt Vi. And in this painting, I do the same thing again, but it's such a soft, delicate way. In the past, it was maybe a little more heavy. And the flowers on the other vase, there's a red flower in the mix of a bunch of white flowers. And I'm always doing that. I'm always throwing the odd color in, or the one. And it's not so much isolation, or I'm alone, or I'm unique and nobody can know. But it's that feeling of being yourself, but in the world, in a community, amongst others, sharing the experience, sharing the vase. But I paint. I've been painting a lot lately, Jay. I've been a little uncomfortable. I've been a little anxious about things in the world and my world, and part of the coping with stuff like that is to get out of my head and get on the brush and just paint, just work.
We're the benefactors of that.
And so's my landlord.
Bob, thanks so much for stopping by. It really is a great pleasure to talk to you. I appreciate you being honest and open about who you are and what you've experienced, and I hope that it is a benefit to other people who've had a chance to listen. Continued success to you. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
Appreciate it.